What if I told you that Hollywood's ultimate action star once wanted to become a Catholic priest? What if the same man who hangs from planes and scales skyscrapers was so poor growing up that he attended 15 different schools in 14 years? Tom Cruise's journey from a dyslexic seminary student to a 600 million action legend is more impossible than any mission he's ever accepted. This is the incredible story of how a broken childhood, a knee injury, and a high school musical turned a troubled teenager into the most dedicated stunt performer in Hollywood history. Thomas Cruise. Mapother IV was born on July 3, 1962 in Syracuse, New York. But unlike the confident superstar we know today, young Tom's early years were marked by chaos, poverty, and constant upheaval. His father, Thomas Mapother III, was an electrical engineer, while his mother, Mary Lee, was a special education teacher and amateur actress. Tom's childhood was anything but stable. His father's work required frequent moves, and by the time Tom was 14, he had attended 15 different schools across the United States and Canada. The family lived in near poverty, moving from Syracuse to New Jersey, then to Ottawa, Canada, and eventually back to Glen Ridge, New Jersey. But the constant relocations weren't the worst part of Tom's childhood. His father was what Tom would later describe as a merchant of chaos, a bully, and a coward who physically abused his children. Tom revealed years later, he was the kind of person where if something goes wrong, they kick you. It was a great lesson in my life. How he'd lull you in, make you feel safe, and then bang. For me, it was like, there's something wrong with this guy. Don't trust him. Be careful around him. When Tom was 11, his parents divorced, and he moved with his mother and 3 sisters to live with his mother's new husband. The relief of escaping his abusive father was tempered by another challenge. Tom suffered from severe dyslexia, which made school incredibly difficult. He struggled to read and write, often feeling embarrassed and frustrated in the classroom. Despite these academic challenges, Tom found solace in sports, particularly wrestling. He was naturally athletic and competitive, excelling on the wrestling team and even considering a professional wrestling career. Sports gave him the confidence and recognition he couldn't find in the classroom. But at age 14, Tom made a surprising decision that would change his life trajectory. Influenced by his Catholic upbringing and searching for meaning amid his family's chaos, Tom decided he wanted to become a priest. He enrolled at a Franciscan seminary in Cincinnati, throwing himself into religious studies with the same intensity he brought to athletics. For a year, Tom lived the disciplined life of a seminary student, studying theology, philosophy, and Latin. His classmates and teachers saw him as a serious, dedicated young man who seemed genuinely called to religious life. But something was missing. The structure and discipline appealed to him, but Tom began to realize that his true passion lay elsewhere. During his senior year of high school, after leaving the seminary, Tom suffered a knee injury that ended his wrestling career. Devastated by losing the sport that had given him identity and purpose, Tom felt lost. That's when a teacher made a suggestion that would change everything. Why not try out for the school musical? Reluctantly, Tom auditioned for Guys and Dolls, and was shocked when he won the lead role of Nathan Detroit. Something clicked the moment he stepped on stage. The same intensity and dedication he brought to wrestling and religious studies now focused on acting. For the first time in his life, Tom felt like he'd found his true calling. After graduating high school, Tom made a bold decision. He gave himself exactly 10 years to make it as an actor, and at age 18, he moved to New York City with virtually no money and no connections. He worked as a busboy to pay rent while auditioning for any role he could find. The rejections were constant and brutal, but Tom's competitive spirit, forged by years of dealing with his father's abuse and his struggles with dyslexia, wouldn't let him quit. He approached acting auditions with the same relentless determination he brought to everything else in his life. His persistence finally paid off in 1981 when he landed a small role in Endless Love, followed by a supporting part in Taps. His performance in Taps caught the attention of critics and filmmakers who were struck by the intensity and commitment the young actor brought to his roles. But it was 1983's Risky Business that truly launched Tom's career. Playing a high school student who turns his parents' house into a brothel, Tom's charismatic performance and iconic underwear scene made him an overnight sensation. At just 21, he had become America's new heartthrob. The success of Risky Business led directly to Top Gun in 1986, the film that would cement Tom's status as a global superstar. Playing the cocky fighter pilot Maverick, Tom earned $2 million, which was 13% of the film's entire $15 million budget. The movie became the highest-grossing film of 1986, earning $360 million worldwide. But Tom wasn't content to just be a pretty face. He began choosing roles that challenged him as an actor, working with legendary directors like Martin Scorsese in The Color of Money and alongside Dustin Hoffman in Rain Man. These films proved he could act, not just charm audiences. The 1990s saw Tom transition into both serious dramatic roles and high-octane action films. He earned Academy Award nominations for Born on the 4th of July and Jerry Maguire, while simultaneously launching the Mission Impossible franchise in 1996. The Mission Impossible films would become Tom's signature series, and it's here that his legendary dedication to performing his own stunts truly began. What started as a desire for authenticity became an obsession with pushing the boundaries of what was physically possible on film. For the first Mission Impossible, Tom earned $70 million, combining his upfront salary with back-end profits. But more importantly, he gained creative control over the franchise, allowing him to pursue increasingly dangerous and elaborate stunts. Each subsequent Mission Impossible film raised the stakes. Tom dangled from the side of a plane taking off in Rogue Nation. He held his breath underwater for 6 minutes. He climbed the exterior of the world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa, without safety nets. He hung from a helicopter performing aerial maneuvers that experienced pilots called insane. The stunts weren't just about spectacle. They were about Tom's relentless pursuit of perfection and authenticity. I feel that acting, you're bringing everything, physically and emotionally, to a character in a story, he explained. And I'm able to do it, and I've trained for 30 years doing things like this, that it allows us to put cameras in places where you normally are not able to. This dedication nearly cost him his career when he broke his ankle during a building-to-building jump in Mission Impossible Fallout. Rather than stopping production, Tom finished the take, completed the scene, and continued filming with a broken foot. The financial rewards for this dedication have been enormous. Tom's net worth is estimated at $600 million, making him one of the richest actors in Hollywood. His unique deal structure, taking lower upfront salaries in exchange for significant back-end profits, has paid off spectacularly. For Top Gun: Maverick, Tom earned $13 million upfront plus 10% of the gross profits. The film earned $149 billion worldwide, giving Tom an additional $109 million, nearly 100 times his original Top Gun salary from 1986. The Mission Impossible franchise alone has generated over $4 billion worldwide, with Tom earning hundreds of millions from his producer credits and profit-sharing deals. His total career earnings are estimated at over $745 million, with much of that coming from back-end deals rather than upfront salaries. But Tom's success isn't just financial. At 62, he remains one of Hollywood's most bankable stars, with Top Gun: Maverick proving that audiences still crave the authentic, death-defying spectacle that only Tom Cruise can deliver. For Top Gun: Maverick, Tom and his co-stars actually flew in FA-118 Super Hornet fighter jets, experiencing G-forces that distorted their faces and made them lightheaded. One sequence required the Navy to grant special permission for Tom to fly at 600 miles per hour, just 50 feet above the ground, a maneuver so dangerous that the pilot told Tom he would never do it again. Tom's personal life has been as scrutinized as his professional career. He's been married 3 times to Mimi Rogers, Nicole Kidman, and Katie Holmes, with each relationship ending in highly publicized divorce. His involvement with the Church of Scientology has generated controversy, particularly his public criticism of psychiatry and prescription medications. But through all the personal drama and public controversies, Tom's commitment to his craft has never wavered. He continues to perform stunts that would terrify actors half his age, training for months to perfect each sequence. The boy who once wanted to become a priest found his true calling in entertaining millions of people worldwide. The dyslexic student who struggled to read became one of the most recognizable faces on the planet. The wrestling prospect whose career ended with a knee injury became Hollywood's ultimate action hero. Tom's upcoming Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning promises even more death-defying stunts, including hanging from an upside-down biplane. At an age when most actors are considering retirement, Tom continues pushing himself to new extremes. His journey from a broken home to Hollywood royalty proves that sometimes our greatest challenges become our greatest strengths. The chaos of his childhood taught him resilience. His dyslexia taught him to work harder than everyone else. His abusive father showed him who he never wanted to become. From a dyslexic seminary student with an abusive father to a 600 million action legend who literally hangs from planes, Tom Cruise's story shows us that our worst circumstances can forge our greatest strengths. His relentless pursuit of perfection, willingness to risk everything for authenticity, and refusal to accept limitations transformed a troubled kid into Hollywood royalty. The next time you face seemingly impossible odds, remember Tom Cruise. Sometimes the most difficult mission is the one that leads to the greatest triumph. His impossible has become our entertainment, and his mission continues.